stop scrolling, because what I'm about to tell you could change everything you thought you knew about love and trust. If a woman ever tells you these 5 things, I need you to hear me carefully. This is not just advice, it's a warning. I've seen men waste years of their lives holding on to someone who was never truly theirs, and I don't want that for you. Every word she says carries a deeper truth, a hidden message about her intentions. And if you miss it, the heartbreak could destroy you. Watch closely till the very end, because I'm revealing signs most men completely ignore. And once you see them, your life will never be the same. Comment your location below where you're watching from, hit subscribe, and join thousands of men taking control of their love lives today. Listen carefully, because this is where most men go wrong without even realizing it. Words are powerful. They are not just sounds or letters strung together. They carry intent, reveal priorities, and uncover truths that actions alone might hide. When a woman tells you things like, I don't need you, or I'm not ready for anything serious, these aren't casual comments. These are signals of her true perspective on you and the relationship. Too often, men hear what they want to hear and dismiss what is plainly spoken. The truth is being offered to you every single time, if you have the eyes to see it and the courage to accept it. Some men convince themselves that love can change someone, that patience will eventually transform words of indifference into promises of devotion. But let me be blunt, patience will never replace honesty. If she doesn't show respect through her words now, waiting will not create respect later. Words like, you can't tell me what to do, or I don't want to be tied down, are more than fleeting remarks. They are reflections of character, values, and priorities. And understanding this is not pessimism, it is clarity. Recognizing these signs early is not rejection, it's wisdom. Think about it from a psychological perspective. Human behavior is consistent. Words are often the first indicators of patterns that will become habits. When she speaks without consideration for your feelings or dismisses your emotional investment, she is unconsciously revealing a lack of alignment with your life. Respect and commitment are not negotiable in a healthy relationship. They are foundations. If the foundations are weak or absent, no amount of effort on your part will ever secure the structure. This is not about being controlling or demanding. It's about honoring your own value and refusing to invest in someone who is unwilling to honor it in return. Philosophically speaking, words are the window to a person's soul. Every time someone communicates, they are offering a glimpse into what matters to them, what they prioritize, and who they truly are when no one is watching. A statement such as, I don't need you, is not just a reflection of independence. It is a declaration that your presence, your care, and your loyalty are optional in her life. And while independence is admirable, a partner should not treat love as optional. Love is not a convenience. It's a mutual exchange of respect, trust, and effort. If she treats it as something secondary, it is a red flag that cannot be ignored. Now, I want you to pay attention to the subtlety of these words. It's not always a blatant declaration like, I don't care about you. Sometimes it's hidden in comments, casual jokes, or repeated dismissals. She may say, I have my own life, or I'm not looking for anything serious, and it may sound harmless at first. But the repetition matters. Repeated statements of detachment, whether intentional or unconscious, are a mirror to her priorities. And the human mind is wired to notice patterns. Those patterns reveal intentions far more clearly than grand gestures or fleeting romantic moments ever could. The danger is that men often rationalize these words, telling themselves, she didn't mean it, or she'll come around eventually. But emotional honesty cannot be manufactured. If her words consistently communicate detachment, if they communicate that she doesn't prioritize you, then her intentions are already clear, even if her actions occasionally confuse you. The longer you ignore these verbal signs, the more you compromise your own emotional well-being. You must learn to value yourself enough to listen to these truths without distortion. Here is the critical takeaway. Listening to words is not about fear. It is about awareness. Awareness allows you to act with clarity instead of reaction. Awareness allows you to recognize early warning signs that would otherwise manifest as heartbreak later. When she repeatedly tells you that she doesn't need you or that she isn't ready for commitment, these are not challenges to overcome, they are signals to respect. To continue investing your time and energy in someone whose words reveal misalignment is to ignore reality in favor of wishful thinking. And that, my friend, is the fastest route to disappointment. So when you hear these words, pause, reflect, consider the patterns they reveal, not just the momentary context. Listen with intent. Listen without hope clouding your judgment. These words are not meant to be ignored, explained away, or softened by love. They are meant to guide your decisions. Love is not blind, and it should never be self-destructive. True love respects itself, and it recognizes when it is not being reciprocated. In the end, your life and your heart are far too valuable to gamble on someone whose words betray her priorities. Respect, commitment, and care are not negotiable in a partner. They are essentials. If her words tell you she is not ready, if they tell you she doesn't value your presence, then the most powerful action you can take is to step away with dignity, clarity, and self-respect. Do not wait for her to realize your worth. Recognize it yourself, honor it yourself, and act accordingly. Because here is the truth, I want you to leave this moment with: a woman's words are not just sound. They are insight, warning, and guidance. Listen carefully, act decisively, and never allow yourself to be trapped by someone who communicates that you are optional. Your heart deserves someone whose words and actions align, who honors you as fiercely as you honor yourself. And when you walk away from what doesn't serve you, you make space for what does. Now let's move to something that most men don't recognize until it's too late. Manipulation in a relationship is subtle. It doesn't announce itself with a loud warning sign. Instead, it creeps in quietly, disguised as concern, care, or even love. A woman might say, "If you loved me, you would," or "I'll be unhappy if you don't." At first, it may seem innocent, almost playful, but pay attention. These words are designed to make you doubt yourself, to bend your will, and to serve her needs at the expense of your own. When this becomes a pattern, it slowly erodes your confidence and blurs the line between love and control. What many men fail to see is that manipulation is not just emotional, it's psychological. It preys on your natural desire to please, your need for validation, and your hope that love can fix everything. You start questioning yourself, wondering if you are being unreasonable or selfish. But the reality is that manipulation thrives on this exact confusion. When someone repeatedly frames their desires as your obligation, you are no longer in a partnership. You are in a game where the rules are set to benefit only one side. Think about it from a philosophical perspective. Every human interaction has a moral dimension. When a person uses guilt, blame, or emotional pressure to influence your actions, they are choosing their needs over your autonomy. This is not love. It is control disguised as affection. And control is never compatible with genuine partnership. A healthy relationship does not require threats, guilt, or emotional coercion to function. Respect and cooperation are voluntary. They are offered freely, not extracted through manipulation. Understanding this distinction is critical because once you recognize it, you stop blaming yourself for what is not your fault. Now, let's explore why this matters in real life. A man who ignores these signs often invests years of effort, thinking that love will eventually soften these manipulative tendencies. But human behavior is rarely changed by hope alone. Words reveal intention, and intention shapes patterns. If she repeatedly frames her needs as your responsibility, she is signaling her expectations of control. Over time, this becomes exhausting, confusing, and emotionally draining. The very energy that could be used to build mutual growth is instead spent navigating an endless cycle of guilt, compromise, and second guessing. Psychologically, we are wired to respond to social cues, to care about the emotions of those we love. Manipulation exploits this wiring. It hijacks your empathy and turns it into compliance. And when this happens repeatedly, your self-esteem begins to erode. You start believing that your desires, boundaries, and needs are less important than hers. You may even begin to rationalize her behavior, thinking that if you just try harder, love will balance everything out. But here's the truth. Love alone cannot fix manipulation. Only awareness, boundaries, and decisive action can protect your emotional well-being. Philosophically, consider this. Every choice you make about who you allow in your life shapes your reality. When you tolerate manipulation, you are effectively giving permission for someone to define your values and priorities for you. You are sacrificing your integrity for temporary acceptance. And while this may feel like love, it is actually a form of emotional imprisonment. The irony is that the more you sacrifice yourself, the less authentic the relationship becomes. Love loses its freedom, and what remains is a cycle of dependency, guilt, and resentment. Let me be clear, setting boundaries is not about being harsh or cold. It is about self-respect. It is about recognizing that your heart and your mind are equally valuable. When a woman repeatedly attempts to manipulate your choices or emotions, it is a warning sign, just like a red traffic light. Ignoring it does not make it disappear. It increases the likelihood of emotional collision. The men who understand this act early. They define what is acceptable and what is not, and they communicate it clearly. And if the behavior persists, they take the only action that preserves their dignity. They step away. Here's the subtle truth most men missed. Emotional manipulation often masquerades as love or care, but it is never accidental. People reveal their values through words and patterns long before actions confirm them. When guilt, blame, or coercion becomes the language of the relationship, it is no longer a partnership. It is a test of endurance. And endurance in such a dynamic is costly, not just in time, but in self-worth, peace of mind, and emotional energy. The most important insight here is that recognizing manipulation early is empowering. Awareness allows you to reclaim control over your life, your emotions, and your choices. It is a call to respect yourself enough to act decisively. No one benefits from a love that requires bending your will, abandoning your boundaries, or tolerating emotional games. True partnership amplifies joy and mutual respect. It does not diminish your identity. So, when you hear those phrases, if you loved me, you would, or I'll be upset if you don't, stop. Listen carefully. Evaluate the patterns, not just the momentary charm or apology that follows. Ask yourself whether this is building a relationship or eroding it. Because at the end of the day, the courage to walk away from manipulation is not rejection. It is preservation of your value, your dignity, and your future. And here is the takeaway I want you to carry with you. Manipulation is never love. Emotional pressure is never concern. When a woman consistently tries to control your actions or guilt you into compliance, she is revealing her true priorities. Listen, observe, and act accordingly. Protect your heart. Protect your mind. And remember, the strongest men are not those who endure manipulation. They are those who recognize it, respond with clarity, and refuse to compromise their worth. Now, let's address the final point, the one that is often the hardest to confront. Disloyalty and dishonesty are not always obvious at first. They rarely come dressed in dramatic confessions or loud arguments. Most of the time, they are whispered between the lines, hidden in what is left unsaid or in subtle evasions. When a woman tells you things like, "I have secrets I can't tell you," or "I'm not really interested in settling down," she is signaling a boundary that goes beyond casual conversation. It is a window into her true intentions. And the danger lies in how easy it is to rationalize these words. We want love to be enough to overcome inconsistencies, and in doing so, we often ignore warnings that are right in front of us. It is natural to hope that circumstances, time, or emotional investment will change someone's intentions. But human behavior is rarely that malleable. Words are the first reflection of patterns that will eventually reveal themselves through actions. If honesty is absent in communication from the start, the likelihood of full transparency later is small. When someone repeatedly tells you that they cannot or will not share certain things with you, it is not a minor issue. It is a symptom of a deeper lack of alignment in trust and values. Trust is the bedrock of any meaningful relationship. Without it, there is no foundation for intimacy, growth, or long-term connection. Psychologically, trust is not merely a social contract. It is an emotional necessity. Humans are wired to form bonds based on reliability, transparency, and mutual care. When these elements are compromised, anxiety, doubt, and emotional exhaustion inevitably follow. The words she chooses reveal how she values or does not value your presence and investment. If she signals secrecy, avoidance, or unwillingness to commit, she is unconsciously establishing boundaries that are incompatible with a healthy partnership. Listening to these words is not pessimism, it is insight. Recognizing these verbal cues early allows you to protect your emotional and mental well-being before significant damage occurs. Philosophically, consider the principle of alignment. Every relationship has a natural flow that should harmonize two people's values, intentions, and goals. When someone communicates a lack of commitment or transparency, she is signaling that alignment does not exist or is unlikely to develop. Ignoring these signals is a form of self-deception. We convince ourselves that love will bridge gaps that are structural rather than temporary. But true alignment cannot be forced. It must be mutually nurtured and willingly embraced. When it is absent, the wisest choice is not persistence. It is clarity and decisive action. Many men fail to recognize these patterns because of emotional attachment. The heart has a remarkable capacity to overlook reality in favor of hope. It tells you, oh, she doesn't really mean it, or I can work through this. But the mind, when trained to observe patterns, sees the truth. Repeated statements of secrecy, avoidance, or non-commitment are not aberrations. They are reflections of her priorities. And those priorities are unlikely to change simply because you desire it. The moment you recognize this, you gain the power to make a conscious choice rather than reacting passively to heartbreak later. It is important to understand that leaving in response to these signs is not a failure. It is a triumph. It is the acknowledgement that your emotional well-being, dignity, and future happiness are worth more than the hope that someone will eventually align with your values. Men often fear walking away, thinking it reflects weakness or loss, but true strength is measured by clarity of perception and courage of action. Recognizing dishonesty or disloyalty early and acting decisively preserves not just your heart, but also your ability to engage fully and healthily in future relationships. From a practical perspective, observing these verbal patterns is essential. Statements like, I just need space from you, or I'm not ready for anything serious, may seem temporary or circumstantial. But when repeated, they are indicative of a mindset that is unlikely to evolve without intentional effort, a level of effort that often only occurs after real emotional cost is paid by the other party. The responsibility to safeguard your heart lies with you, not with someone else's promises or rationalizations. To wait for someone else to change is to risk compromising your own standards of trust and commitment. Philosophically and emotionally, consider this: life is too short to invest in someone who signals again and again that your presence and commitment are optional. Words are truth spoken in real time. They are not a suggestion for hope or wishful thinking. They are insight, guidance, and sometimes warning. And when a woman's words reveal disloyalty or a lack of transparency, ignoring them is not courage. It is denial. Acting on these signs is an act of self-respect, clarity, and protection of your emotional integrity. So when you hear these phrases, pause and reflect. Evaluate the patterns, not the excuses. Observe the intentions behind the words, not the fleeting charm that may accompany them. Recognize that your emotional energy, your time, and your heart are valuable resources. They deserve honesty, alignment, and reciprocal commitment. If her words consistently signal secrecy, avoidance, or a lack of intention to prioritize the relationship, it is your responsibility to act in accordance with reality, not hope. And here is the truth I want you to leave this moment with. A woman's words are never meaningless. They are the clearest reflection of her intentions, priorities, and alignment with your life. Listen carefully, discern clearly, and act decisively. Protect your heart, your mind, and your future, because the man who understands these signs and responds with clarity is not avoiding love. He is choosing the love that honors him fully, without compromise, without sacrifice of his dignity.